Shaq completely lost his mind. But this wasn't just about the fight. The reason for that punch is the part nobody talks about. Charles Barkley wasn't supposed to dominate the NBA. At 6'4", he was undersized for a power forward. Too heavy, too reckless, too loud. But those flaws became his weapons. Barkley played with violence. He didn't finesse defenders, he bullied them. He knocked 7-footers off balance, drove into bodies twice his size, and dared anyone to match his energy. He was the old king of the paint, fearless and mean. He averaged double-digit rebounds for 15 straight seasons and once grabbed 33 boards in a single game. He won the 1993 MVP by outworking players much bigger than him, dragging Phoenix to the finals against Jordan. He finished his career with over 23,000 points and 12,000 rebounds, one of only 4 players in NBA history at the time to do so. He was built like a brawler, but skilled enough to torch defenders with spin moves and mid-range jumpers. Then came Shaquille O'Neal. 7'1", 300 pounds. A man built like a tank who moved like a freight train. From his very first season in Orlando, Shaq wasn't just a player. He was an event. He dunked so hard he bent steel, shattered backboards, and made veterans look like kids. He put up 23 and 14 as a rookie, instantly an all-star, instantly the face of the league's future. He led the Magic to the 1995 NBA Finals by his 3rd season, getting past Michael Jordan's Bulls and Reggie Miller's Pacers on the way. To most people, Shaq was the future, but not to Barkley. When Barkley looked at Shaq, he didn't see unstoppable. He saw soft. Too goofy, too playful, too willing to smile when others wanted blood. And Barkley decided to test him. Every rebound came with an elbow. Every drive was a collision. Every whisper was a dagger. This wasn't about points. It was about pride. The old king against the new one. And everybody knew it couldn't stay quiet for long. Barkley had a system. He didn't just play the game, he played the man. He couldn't out-jump giants, so he broke their rhythm. He couldn't out-length them, so he broke their will. Every rebound came with an elbow. Every screen with a shove. Every trash talk with a purpose. He said he's too lazy and that he can't defend. To outsiders, it looked like trash talk. To Shaq, it was poison. Because Barkley wasn't just another veteran. He was a former MVP, an 11-time All-Star, an Olympic gold medalist, named one of the NBA's 50 greatest players of all time, one of the most respected stars of his era. So when he called you soft, the world listened. And Shaq couldn't escape it. Reporters repeated it in headlines. Analysts whispered it on broadcasts. Fans echoed it in arenas. Even teammates looked at him differently, questioning whether he had the killer instinct to match his size. Everywhere he went, Barkley's words followed him like a shadow. Shaq later admitted in his autobiography that Barkley was one of the only players who could truly get inside his head. That's why this rivalry was dangerous. The fight wasn't born in 1999. It was born years earlier. And by the time the cameras caught it, the fuse was already burning hot. What Barkley did next would stay in Shaq's head for years. The seeds of chaos were planted in the mid-90s. Shaq's Orlando Magic against Barkley's Phoenix Suns. Every matchup was a brawl dressed up as basketball. Bodies hit the floor, words flew, and the tension never faded. By 1996, everything shifted. Barkley moved to Houston to join Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler, forming a super team many thought could take down Michael Jordan. Shaq left Orlando after a finals loss to Hakeem and signed with the Lakers, instantly becoming the centerpiece of the NBA's glamour franchise. 2 careers crossing in opposite directions. But the blood between them stayed bad. Barkley mocked Shaq publicly. He told reporters Shaq cared more about dunks than winning. He laughed at Shaq's free throws, calling them embarrassing. He said Shaq showed up heavy to camp, out of shape when it mattered most. And he didn't stop there. He questioned Shaq's toughness. He said the big man had all the tools but no hunger. That he dominated highlights but not championships. He even joked that Shaq would never catch Hakeem, never outwork Robinson, never have the drive of Ewing. And Shaq couldn't ignore it. Because Barkley wasn't just talking. He was a former MVP, the 1993 scoring champ, and one of the most respected players of his generation. And worse, he was fearless. For years, Barkley kept poking. For years, Shaq kept seething. Every insult adding fuel, every headline twisting the knife. Each game built more tension, each meeting another spark. Until the 9th of November, 1999. Lakers versus Rockets. Nobody knew it then, but the next play would change everything. Houston, the Rockets hosting the Lakers. It was supposed to be just another regular season game. But the tension was heavy, thick enough to feel in the air. Every bump under the rim sounded louder. Every stare carried history, every whistle felt like a warning. Midway through, the moment came. Shaq and Barkley fought for a rebound. The whistle blew. Instead of handing the ball to the ref, Barkley fired it into Shaq's chest. The arena froze. Shaq's face went blank, then twisted. He snapped. Shaq cocked back and threw a haymaker, a 300-pound punch aimed at Barkley's head, but Barkley ducked. He lowered his shoulder and tackled Shaq to the floor.
Oh, there's a swing by O'Neal, and they got a brouhaha on the floor.
Suddenly, the NBA's biggest names were not playing basketball. They were rolling across the hardwood in a street fight. Benches cleared. Refs scrambled. Coaches dove in, teammates pulling, fans screaming. Security rushed courtside, cameras shaking as broadcasters lost their voices. For a moment, nobody cared about the score. It felt like the league's foundation was shaking. Two giants in pure chaos. Both ejected. Both suspended one game. Both fined. The fight lasted seconds, but its shadow lasted years. Every highlight reel replayed it. Every headline stretched it. And every player in the league remembered it like it happened yesterday. A moment when the NBA's biggest stars lost all control. The fight ended in seconds, but the storm that followed felt endless. SportsCenter replayed it on a loop. Talk radio turned it into a punchline. Newspapers splashed it across front pages. In Houston, Barkley was praised for standing up to the so-called Superman. In Los Angeles, Shaq was grilled for losing control. Even other stars around the league were asked about Shaq's composure, fueling the idea that he could still be rattled. The NBA handed down fines and suspensions, but that did nothing to quiet the noise. The clip had already gone viral before viral even existed. The fight was no longer just theirs, it belonged to the world, and Shaq could not escape it. The fight ended on the court, but off the court, it was just beginning. The NBA handed down punishments. Both men were suspended for one game. Both men were fined thousands of dollars, one of the largest penalties for a fight at the time. For Shaq, the real punishment was not from the league, it was humiliation. Because for all his size and dominance, this was not power. This was Barkley proving he could get inside his head. Every time Shaq thought about the fight, it stung. It was not about points or rebounds anymore. It was about how Charles Barkley had made him lose control. For a superstar building his brand as the most unstoppable force in basketball, that cut deeper than any punch. He wanted to be remembered as the most dominant center ever, not the giant who got clowned by Charles Barkley. And the timing made it worse. Shaq was still chasing his first championship. Critics said this proved he wasn't ready, that he didn't have the mentality of Olajuwon, the discipline of Kareem, or the steadiness of Robinson. He had the body, but not the mind. Shaq later admitted it. Barkley was one of the only players who could really rattle him. He said Barkley did not fear him, and that got under his skin more than anything. Because the fight was not about the ball. It was not about a rebound. It was about years of whispers. Years of being told he was not tough enough. Years of being dared to explode. And when he finally did, he gave Barkley exactly what he wanted. Not just a fight. A moment that proved even giants could be shaken. What made it worse was how players across the league whispered about it in private. Veterans who once feared Shaq now wondered if he could be broken. Coaches questioned his composure in playoff moments. Even teammates admitted the incident left a mark, because it showed Shaq's emotions could be used against him. Years later, he would dominate and win championships, but this scar followed him. It was a reminder that strength alone was never enough. The mental game mattered just as much, and for one night in Houston, Charles Barkley had won that war. Here's the twist nobody expected. Despite the fight, despite the insults, Shaq and Barkley grew closer after retirement. On TNT's Inside the NBA, the two became co-stars. They argued, roasted each other, and clowned on live television. Their chemistry was chaos, but it was magic. Fans tuned in as much for their banter as for the highlights. The show even won multiple Emmys, with Shaq and Barkley at the center of its popularity. But behind the jokes was something real. Respect. Shaq admitted Barkley's fire forced him to take the game more seriously. He said Charles pushed him in ways most players never could, that the constant poking lit a fire under him. Barkley admitted Shaq's dominance changed basketball forever. He said there was no stopping a prime Shaq, no answer for his size and power. They never forgot the fight. They never erased the scars. But instead of dividing them, it became a shared memory, proof of how hard they pushed each other. That was Shaq versus Charles Barkley, the rivalry that made Shaq snap. But Shaq wasn't the only legend to lose control. Kobe, LeBron, KD, all had hidden battles that pushed them to the edge. So, which rivalry should we uncover next?